After publishing the first video about polishing the metalwork on antique sewing machines, I realized several points had been left out, which this short addendum video will address. First, I showed a scene towards the end of the first video of the Jones swan neck before the needle plate had been polished, but not after.
Here's how it turned out. If it doesn't look that bright, it's because it's so shiny that all of the light is being reflected away. Holding a hand behind it shows how reflective it really is. Getting to this point took 3 hours of really hard work and burned through about $25 in sandpaper and mainly micromesh polishing sheets. Deeply pitted surfaces may require so much metal removal that you end up burning through the original nickel plating, which was put there to preserve the cast iron. If this happens, the exposed metal is more susceptible to rust. To help preserve the finish, I like to follow up the final polishing with a good metal polish. I like Autosol because it seems to reduce any lingering fine scratches. It's also a good idea to wipe off the surfaces after handling to remove any fingerprints. This will help prevent rust from getting a foothold. The guide I use for the starting grit for the polishing process is to run my finger over the surface. If I can feel pits, I start with a 220 grit sandpaper. If I can see pits, but I can't feel them, it feels smooth, I'll start with a 400 grit sandpaper. In the long run, using the finer grit as a starting point reduces the amount of metal removed and also saves some time. If the plate looks like this one, with no pits and just a few minor scratches, I'll actually reverse the order of selecting my grits. And I'll start with, say, a 6,000 grit micromesh, and then work my way backward to coarser grits until I get to the point where I have the finest grit that will produce scratches of the same magnitude of the scratches I'm seeing. And that gives me the starting point so that I don't put any scratches in that are deeper than what's already there. Half of the effort of polishing something like this goes to holding it in place. Securing it to a stable work surface, either with recessed screws or even double-faced tape, will make the job go a lot easier. Another thing that makes the job easier is to work standing up. That allows you to lean forward and use your body weight to apply pressure to the sandpaper instead of just arm strength. Be careful to wipe down the workpiece and the work surface after every grit. Doing so reduces the chance of picking up a piece of, say, 400 grit on a much finer paper and gouging scratches into the workpiece. If this happens, you have to go all the way back to the offending grit and start all over. Needle plates are often stamped with manufacturer logos or patent information. Polish these areas carefully so you don't end up rubbing them out. It's better to leave a couple of pits and preserve this information than it is to make it perfectly smooth and lose it. Thank you for watching this addendum to the metal polishing video. I hope you found it useful in your own antique sewing machine restoration.